Welcome to Never Work a Day. We explore the ever-evolving relationship we have with work, careers, and purpose. Each episode features inspiring, unfiltered stories from individuals who have transformed their lives by pursuing passion-driven careers. Through candid conversations, diving into the ups and downs and unexpected turns that shape their journeys, offering listeners and y'all relatable insights and practical advice. I'm your host, Nickey Frankel. I'm a purveyor of platforms, a creator of play spaces, a producer of things big and small, and I'm so excited to bring you the story of these extraordinary individuals. Here's a full-body sketch of our first subject in a test tube, Eleni Simos. Number 1, Eleni grew up in Queens, NYC, baby, and she did that. Number 2, at 20, she really liked Marlboro Reds. She drank a lot of Jack Daniels. There's no sponsorship on this. I'm just saying the level of alcohol that she drank. She could drink everybody under the table. She partied super hard. Number 3, also within that time, she managed the Amex Lounge for the NYC Fashion Week events, and she was giving perspective and knowledge on events, branding, and general capitalism. Number 4, at 22, after witnessing her mother's diagnosis and experienced Western medicine, which we all know can be a drag, became an avid researcher into alternative medicines and holistic modalities. Number 5, at that point, she threw away her Reds, put her Jack on the shelf, picked up a green juice, and started her blog, which is very old school, which shows how long she's been in the game, but no judgments because blogs are amazing. The Clean Eating Chick, which is a very good name. You're welcome. Number 6, at 34, just the young age of 34, she has a budding juice empire in Cleansed, her latest healthy living endeavor. And now that you know all that, let's get into it. Here is Eleni.
Let's get into it.
Hello.
Hi, Nickey.
Hi, Eleni. It's so beautiful to see you.
So beautiful to see you, too.
So we're really excited. I first should talk about how I met you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk
it's
about
my favorite story.
I mean, it's a good story. Yeah. I don't know the year, guys. I don't know. I'm so sorry, folks.
I could tell you the year.
You want to tell me the year?
Yeah, it was like 2013.
Ooh.
Yeah.
2013. I was working Advertising Week, which some people know is a very big event. That's exhausting. And we were working in an undisclosed venue that I know very well. And I saw Eleni mic running. Now, for those that have been to a conference, when you ask a question, you need to be on microphone because if you're not on microphone, no one will hear the freaking question.
Yes.
And it won't be on recording, and then the moderator has to announce it again.
Mind you, the pressure I felt with that job, being a mic runner, for my little 23-year-old heart, I was nervous.
Well, what was cool was she was nervous, and she was trying to do something with it because I'd seen loads of people like Eleni and not like Eleni not do anything within that job and just stand there and have a very, bad mic skill.
Wimpy arm.
Wimpy arm is what I was looking for.
I was running in my little flats.
You got to shove that mic in people's faces. And what Eleni had was gumption.
My favorite word.
So much gumption. And I thought, and I just started my company. And I thought, I need someone like that to work with me. Like, who's that person?
Well, the backstory on my end was throughout the entire Ad Week experience, I thought that you hated me. I
think that's so crazy.
Anytime you would walk into the theater, I just got this energy from you, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I would go home to my mom and be like,
what?
Mom, she hates me. I'm doing such a bad job.
See, people always think that, and instead I'm just trying to think about how to approach people. You know, I find sometimes when I really like someone, I give off the vibes that I don't like them.
I feel like I do the same thing unintentionally, but I also had a feeling that it was just like your on-site energy. You know, like you're in boss mode. You're doing your thing. You're running a show. And me, I was just slightly intimidated by that, but I was also inspired to really run around that theater with that mic.
I was so impressed. Oh my God. So that's how we first met. And then I went to you and said, you got gumption, lady.
Which is my favorite word that I lean into now.
Well, you do, because then it was amazing. And so we've worked together and we've known each other and we've been friends ever since. And thank goodness for Advertising Week. Not a plug. Hello, Matt Scheckner. So, let's just rewind. Let's go all the way back.
Let's do it
to where Eleni's origin story is, where she came from and what happened. So, we talked about how you came up in Queens. Born and raised,
yes.
Which I love a New Yorker. I'm a New Yorker. Love a New Yorker. Where you went to school for 2 months, where Biggie went to school?
Yes, I did. I went to high school Just for 2 months. Yes, Biggie did go to the high school that I went to, Cardozo. But I only went for 2 months because it was just super overcrowded and not the energy. And then I just stopped going. I just stopped going. And little rebellious energy that I was.
And then you just said, I'm not going.
Yeah. And my mom was like, you have to go to school. And I'm like, well, let's pick another school because that's not it for me. Just wasn't the energy. It was overcrowded and just like, not for me.
Not for you. And so I hear you went to Catholic school.
I did. Then I went to
Imagine the Catholic schoolgirl outfits. Imagine, but it's more, everyone, it seems to be more of a craft, the craft
Yeah, that was
vibe,
more the energy for me.
which is also was my energy.
Yeah.
Which I like for a Catholic schoolgirl. I think it's good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I also lean into that role as well.
Yeah, I think that's great. A lot of like Wiccan, disruptive black eyeliner.
Heavy on the black eyeliner when I was in high school. Heavy on it.
Well, that's the only thing you can do, really,
because
you don't.
That.
Well, because you don't really have any skin. I mean, unless if you have acne, you don't know how to do anything about that. So you just have to do eyes and mouth.
Yeah.
I was saying that after I saw a David Lynch movie, I sat down at 16 and lined my eyes, and that was it.
Yeah.
Forever.
It was the trend back then.
It was the trend.
You know, and then like the rubber, like the thick rubber band bracelets. And like, you know, I rolled my skirt up and I left like one button down and like would sometimes get
maybe
detention.
you had a black bra.
Maybe like a little
something
lacy,
something,
you know?
just
like a little like chicy, you know?
just to do something with the uniform. You got to do something with that uniform. You got
to put my little flair on it.
Of course. But you had anxiety, right? When you were 18?
Yeah. When I was a teenager in high school, yeah, for sure. Definitely battled with the anxiety. And that carried well into my early 20s, for sure.
I mean, and you went to yoga? Is that?
So part of what, I from a very young age, at 14, actually even earlier than that, I was introduced to a holistic modality, which would be acupuncture.
Right.
And when I forget what age I was, but my pediatrician at the time told my mom that I had scoliosis.
So
and
did
he
I.
was, yeah. Well, it's common, you know,
Sure.
we're developing
Absolutely.
posture, you know, we don't, as a Western society, don't really focus on posture or moving our body.
That's right.
So my mom was told that I had scoliosis and I would need to have surgery on my spine. I think I was like 12.
Wow.
Surgery on my spine, and that would entail 2 metal rods along my spine. And God bless my mom, she was like, absolutely not. You're not cutting open up my daughter. She's still growing. We're going to find an alternative here. And she had already gone to chiropractor. My grandmother go to a chiropractor. And this guy was an angel in my life. He like healed me essentially through hands-on adjustments and acupuncture. So that's when I was introduced to something different as opposed to going the route of like surgery.
Of course.
We went the route of like, no, we're going to do acupuncture and we're going to...
Alternative medicine.
Yes. And that was but from like 12 to 14, that idea implanted in me.
That's good to have that alternative even available.
Yeah.
I went to a chiropractor for the same thing, and I actually had a device in my room that had me hang upside down.
Oof. Oh, but that's like nice though.
It was nice. I just used it as a coat back in the end. But it's
spine.
but now I wish I had it right now. And I would lay in it all the time if I had it right now.
Same, sister.
So that's very cool. So that immediately you sort of had this alternative version.
Yeah. I think, you know, the acupuncture being introduced to me from 14, and then when I was struggling with anxiety really bad around like 18, 19, instead of, at the time, every parent putting their kid on some type of like medication, anti-anxiety, antidepressant, my mom was like, no, you're just moody. You're a teenager. Like, go to yoga and figure it out. Like, that's literally what she said to me. Like, instead of, you know, my medication or my kind of prescription from my mom was like, go to take a hot yoga class, sweat it out, channel your energy, fix your aggression, and deal with it.
Smart advice.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like, thank God for that, because I was taught at that age, you know, 18 years old, 18, 19, to like rely on myself. Right. As opposed to
anybody
outside
else. Of yourself.
Yeah, like anything outside of myself.
Yeah.
And kind of working up that energy on the mat in yoga versus, you know. And then that's where, through that, growing up, always looking to my mom or my mom encouraging an alternative way of thinking for both me and my sister.
Which is huge, which is, I mean, it's kind of a game changer because it also helps your emotions and helps, you know, just the fact that you can find movement in yourself and that can cure you and make you feel better. It is something that you can have as a tool for your entire life.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And I totally love that. Yeah. So that's really great. So you had those tools, but even though you had those tools, you still like to party and you still like to hang out. And so
I was doing what any, you know, 18, 19, 20-year-old kid was doing at the time.
Right.
Enjoying myself, drinking Jack Daniels, smoking, which no one believes. Like now.
I met you when you were smoking.
Yeah.
I met you when you were smoking a lot.
Yeah.
And you had said at a certain point, and I didn't know the backstory behind the reason why you were doing that or not doing that. But I thought she said how healthy, you would say how healthy you are and how you're doing all these cleanses. And then we would go out and it would be so many, I would be...
Not entirely true. The cleanses and all of that came much
for
later
sure,
on,
but you were into,
yeah.
we would always talk about health sort of
sure.
as a, and you were vegetarian.
Yeah.
Initially, which we both were.
Totally.
Yeah.
There was a lot of intertwining, right?
Yeah,
like my journey was not linear. My journey was very much like I was exposed to certain things and would then be kind of like pulled into, well, I'm 20 and I'm dating people at the time who are doing this and, staying out till 4 a.m., like being a young adult, right?
For sure.
But then also my mind of like, oh, wait, but then like, wait, a green juice can do what? Or wheatgrass or ginger? And I was like, things were happening for me on a personal level where I was like, okay, this is interesting. This resonates. But I wasn't really in an environment that was supporting that.
Absolutely.
Right? But like still having this thought process on my own that like I want to take care of myself,
of course,
eat good, but also like party a little.
Of course. And but I also felt like we bonded on that being something that you were into.
Yeah.
And that there was some sort of holistic.
I remember you were like the first vegetarian that I met that I was like, wait, you don't eat meat either?
I know. And we bonded on that.
Yeah.
And then we started talking about ginger and all the rest. And then y'all would go outside and have a cigarette.
And bond over that.
And I was doing
duality,
all the time.
baby.
I know you got to have it all.
Yeah.
You got to have it all.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable, then, I mean, sort of in your origin story, part of what you experienced, which really pushed the health piece forward, was you having to confront the white coats in a real personal way.
Yeah.
Which is how I'm going to phrase that.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I think that what made my journey more of an outward expression was when my mom was diagnosed. Right. That took everything to a deeper level for me, where at that time, me exploring, reading certain books on health and wellness and taking yoga classes and wanting to switch my own lifestyle around, like not wanting to sleep till noon, but waking up and going and taking a yoga class, and was when my mom was diagnosed. I'm like, okay, this is now not a personal experience. This is something that someone now that I love and care about is going through a life-altering situation.
Right.
And from a very young age, at 22, she was diagnosed for me. Then I was like, okay, everything was completely derailed at that point.
As you went on your journey in terms of yoga and kind of not an alternative medicine and not necessarily trusting Western medicine, you also got a gig that was sort of aligned, right?
Yeah. So back around the time of me being a mic runner for you, I was doing brand ambassador work, right? Like that's kind of how I got myself.
Can we tell people what that is for those that are not in the industry of what we do?
Yes. So being a brand ambassador, essentially at the time I worked for like a staffing agency, and there would be pop-up experiences.
So pop-up experiences are anytime you see a store that's not really a store full-time, that it's just a momentary thing, and there's usually somebody outside saying, come into the store.
Right.
I represent the brand.
Right.
I'm wearing a T-shirt.
Right. Exactly. I was wearing a T-shirt. I had a little stand. I was doing like a juice demo. It was flavored water, right, with powdered greens, chia seeds, and like a powdered camu berry. So that got me into kind of bridging the gap of like brand ambassador work, event production, and then health and wellness, right? So I would travel around the city doing pop-up experiences at different juice bar locations. And that got me into, juicing. I was now in this world where there's like these colorful, vibrant juices. I'm talking to people. I'm doing live demos. And, really, I love talking to people. I'm sure you can tell.
Yes.
And then I started drinking juices. And I'm like, okay, this is great. And I've dabbled on my own. And one day I was, finishing my day. My mom came and she met me in the city. And I'm like, Mom, you have to do a 3-day juice cleanse. Like, look at this. Like, I'm bringing her around the store and I'm like, look at this juice and blah, blah, blah. And she, she agreed. She wasn't opposed to it, but she was like, all right, let's do it. So she had committed to doing a 3-day juice cleanse. And one of the juices that was a part of that regimen with that company was a really intense ginger fireball type of juice. It was like ginger, garlic, maybe cayenne pepper, turmeric, and it was meant to attack any inflammation in the body. So when she had tried this juice, it brought attention to this pain that she was experiencing at the time. She thought it was like in her lower back. And she was very uncomfortable, and she just kind of chalked it up to sciatic nerve, right? Didn't really dive deep into it. And then she had dealt with the pain. She then took a road trip to Florida and was very uncomfortable during the drive down, as somebody would be.
Yes, for sure.
So again, but just kind of like chalking it up to sciatic nerve, adjusting herself, oh, my back, like this and that, and ignoring it essentially until it was just so overwhelming for her that she had to fly back. She flew back. She cut her trip early. She left Florida and she was like, okay, I need to go to an acupuncturist, right? Because at the time that was mainly our fix for things, right? Still is my fix to this day. So she went to this wellness practitioner in our area, and after the woman, she was a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. She had taken my mom's pulse, looked at her tongue, did whatever it was that she needed to do, and basically told my mom, you have a tumor the size of a golf ball. You have to go get it checked out. And my mom was like, wait, what? Like, I just thought I had sciatic nerve. What are you talking about? A tumor, you know? And I think she had a biopsy done on Friday, or no, on a Tuesday, the results by the end of the week. And then I think like 4 days later, she had already had like her first chemo treatment booked.
Oh my goodness.
So that was
That's immediate.
it was a very quick experience. And me as the daughter, I was like it was like in a cartoon, like you're just smacked across the face and your head spins all around. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, we're not scientists, so we
Right.
don't know, it's just all of that coincidentally came together into creating this diagnosis.
Yeah.
And it's very exciting in a way that you were able to even find that it existed because you wouldn't have known otherwise.
Right.
Right?
Or you would have ignored it, and then that would have been less time with my mom. And
Exactly.
But again, like that's a little bit of my thought process is like everything works in perfect order. There was
Well, it's a holistic
reason,
approach, right?
Yeah,
That
there
everything
was a reason
affects
for all of
everything
that, for
else.
sure.
Yeah. I mean, and that went on for about 2 years,
Yeah,
right?
2 years.
Yeah.
And that's really what opened up my eyes to Western medicine, to how certain things are treated in somewhat of a very blanket kind of way.
Yeah.
The patient is not really cared for. It's more like a statistic.
Well, you lose a lot of power too,
Totally,
right? I mean,
totally.
in sort of that you're not able to say what you want or what you can do because you don't know and you're trusting.
Right. And then seeing the patient, who in my case was my mom, and then me as the daughter feeling completely powerless in moments.
For sure.
But also, unbeknownst to me, activated something within me further. So I had mentioned the passion and the desire of health and wellness was already something personal that I had been practicing. And then with her diagnosis, making it be like an outward thing where I'm like, okay, what's going on here? What's the information, more information than I can gather about her diagnosis and this experience, and how can I support her through nutrition or through mindset? Or it just started this whole journey for me on a totally different level over the course of 2 years, from her diagnosis to when ultimately she, didn't make it. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and chemo can be so depleting as well. So you really wanted to be able to support her in any way you could.
Yeah, for sure.
Something that we talked about was sort of, it kind of aligned you with questioning everything.
Yes.
Right? Because anyone who's been through it with the white coats, which is what we're going to call Western medicine, just because that's what it is, sort of knows that you don't question anything, and you should, because you don't know they don't know exactly for you what is always the right thing to do.
And look, I'm not here to even hate on any type of,
of course not,
Western medicine or ideology or anything along those lines. But for me, witnessing the experience that my mom went through when she was first diagnosed, like, you look to doctors or white coats as authority figures. Like,
of course,
from a very, very, very young age, we are taught to trust what the doctors have to tell us.
Right.
So when you have this authoritative figure in your face telling you, like, you have this diagnosis, you need to start right away, this is your chances of survival, this is what's happening, you are sitting on this table and you are already, like, your immune system is already compromised.
Of course,
you
because
already
you're
are
panicked.
feeling like you lost the battle.
Yeah, you're in fight or flight. You don't
Right.
know what to do. You're
Right.
basically stuck.
Right.
And that affects your health, obviously.
Completely. And your mindset and your inner dialogue and your ability to think, like, what's happening? How did I get here? Like, there's no real care in terms of, like, mindset and what the patient is going through.
Of course
and
not.
experiencing on a emotional level.
Absolutely not.
Right.
You lose all bodily autonomy completely.
Right.
Which is a mindfuck. One of the quotes you came up with, which I really like, which is "Think before it's illegal," which is a George Orwell quote from 1984.
Yeah, which I got from my mom.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah,
so, I mean,
that's what she taught me.
what does that, how does that apply to this situation, though? in your
Well, I
mind?
think that it was, my mom, when she received her diagnosis, she did everything in her power, and she really did her best to transmute her experience to empower myself and my sister. I feel like, looking back on it. In the midst, it didn't feel like that. I was so angry. I was confused. I was, breaking up with one part of my life and opening up another part of my life, and like learning things that at the time I was, in my early 20s. I'm 22, 23, and I'm like reading about the benefits of ginger and wheatgrass, and how like you can, if you stop eating this way, you can have a more alkaline diet. Like, I was learning so much and so excited, but also so angry. So I was questioning everything at that time, because that's what I was raised to do. It was like, don't go follow the status quo.
Well, don't get the rods in your spine.
Right,
Go
right.
to yoga.
Don't exactly go do yoga. Go try acupuncture.
Yeah.
Like, let's explore this on a different way. And I feel like the pillar of that, my mom, the pillar of teaching me that way, she was compromised at that point. So I felt like it was my responsibility as a daughter. But again, I'm still young. I'm figuring myself out. I'm like, again, just stepping into this new role and wanting to encourage her. Well, remember when you told me that we should try this or we should do that, and then I'm like juicing and all of these things.
Yeah.
So it started such a deeper relationship to health and wellness.
Right.
For me.
That you would have than you would have ever had.
I put
of
myself
course.
through a nutrition program.
Amazing.
I wanted to learn everything that I could learn at the time to help her.
Well, the experience wasn't in vain. I mean, the experience, it sort of goes back to what you had initially, what we had talked about a little while ago.
Yeah.
About how you take everything and you turn it into an experience, right?
For sure. And I feel like, gratefully, I had so many conversations with my mom through this experience, and ultimately, like when she was put in hospice, very sobering conversations about like how this diagnosis transformed her on a spiritual level, and then me and my sister and my family and my belief system. And I made a promise to myself that what she went through and what I inevitably saw as like a broken system, or people just not feeling empowered, people not making healthy choices, I'm like, I can't let her die in vain, like straight up. I just couldn't. I needed to take my experience and empower people, as opposed to just like going through my life being a victim of that this happened to my mom or this happened to my family. It's like, no, what did I learn, and how can I share that information with a wider audience?
Absolutely. Yeah. Ordeal or adventure. That's very inspiring, though, I have to say, because not a lot of people can take that. I mean, it probably took a lot of energy from your mom's side, too, to kind of make that evidence to you and your sister that was the takeaway for this. And that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, not to get too deep into it, but when she was in hospice, she would tell me every day how grateful she was for her life. And you don't know many people that are like making peace with them leaving their physical body and being like, I'm still grateful to see another day. I'm grateful for my bed. I'm grateful for the window to see outside. Like, you know what I mean? And it totally transformed me, 23 years old, being like, gratitude? We're grateful for this, or of
course,
the conversations.
We're not really taught to
no
talk about gratefulness
right,
that much, and
right.
what that does, and how that helps us to get through, and how that helps us to see the world.
For sure.
Well, you also mentioned, though, that the week she was put in hospice, you actually spoke at a health conference, right?
Yeah, so that was an interesting week for me, for sure. I mean, again, like timing and just how things unfold in your life, and just being along for the journey. The day before the day after she was put in hospice, I spoke at the Seed Festival in New York City and announced myself as the clean eating chick. While I was going through this horrifying personal journey, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna turn what I'm going through into a way of, again, like a business and getting my message out there.
Yeah, reframe it into purpose.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
Amazing. Well, part of what we do sometimes is we think of our subjects as superheroes, right? So everyone has an Achilles heel or has kryptonite, and then everyone has a superpower. So I think your kryptonite, you said, was imposter syndrome, which I think is everyone struggles with that.
Totally.
And everyone feels that they're not supposed to be doing the thing they think that they're supposed to be doing. And particularly, I'm skeptical of people in the wellness industry because of that. Because I find a lot of people segue into wellness or into mental health or into coaching as another career option, and the story, but it's hard. It's there's a lot of it out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're saturated with so much information,
Absolutely.
messaging, branding, everything in your face all the time.
Right. And I think part of what I like about the way that you put yourself out there, and maybe it helps with your imposter, and we actually talked about this before, but the way that it helps with your imposter syndrome is that you do keep it really real, right?
Yeah. Well, when the conversation of imposter syndrome came about, you had asked me, well, what's your imposter syndrome? And it's like my ego, or like the inner dialogue in my head that's like, you can't do this. You don't have enough accreditation. You're not a doctor. You're not this. Like, and then the other part of it being like, no, the dialogue of my higher self of being like, I have an experience, as we all do, that I feel very called to share.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's huge. And so that's how you kind of get over it, too, because that's also a superpower for you. That also the fact that you're able to turn that.
Totally. And keep it real. Like kind of going back to it a little bit, I had recently shared a highlight reel of 2024, right? We're in a new year now. It's 2025. Great energy, new year, new me, all that fun stuff. And now on social media, everyone's sharing highlight reels, kind of just like encapsulating their 365 days in like a 35-second reel, okay? Now, think realistically like what that actually entails. So when I was going through my videos and thinking about what I wanted to highlight for the year, I'm like looking back and I'm like, wow, like I've accomplished a lot. Everything I said I wanted to do, I fucking did it. Holy shit, look at me, right?
Yeah.
But what didn't make the highlight reel were many, many moments of complete crippling insecurity. Like, am I supposed to be doing this? Is this the time? There was so many moments of that in 2024 for me, but that didn't make the cut of the 2024. So for me, like, I posted that to share the accomplishments of the Clean Eating Chick and Cleansed, my businesses. But on the flip side, I also felt I had a responsibility as an entrepreneur, as a creative, to jump on social, on my story, and be like, hey, I just shared this highlight reel, but this is also what was happening behind the scenes,
and this is
too.
how I was feeling.
Yeah, like I'm a human.
Yeah.
I deal with these things, but it's all about how you persevere through that.
Absolutely.
Because if you feel very strongly that you have something that you need to share and bring to life, you're going to go through moments of like, I shouldn't be doing this, or
and it's so
you're not the one, or someone
that.
else is doing it. Yeah.
It's so important to share that because it makes people feel more like they're less alone in feeling all of that.
And then you as, you know, whether it's you're a creator, entrepreneur, you become instantly more relatable.
Yeah, and also you have a responsibility to be able to show those sides of yourself.
Right, because who wants to just see like 35 seconds of I'm like smiling at the camera, dancing, I'm doing all these things, which that's all very real. You know me, when I'm in the moment, I am.
You're all about that.
Yeah, but there's also the very real flip side of like, there are moments where am I doing the right thing? Am I doing this the right way? Or is this the time for me? And it's like, at the end of the day, you just have to know, like, the answer is always yes. Like, now is the time.
Well, yeah.
Just pull the trigger.
I also feel like the wellness industry makes people feel bad a lot of the time.
Interesting.
I do.
How
feel
so?
like, I think that there is a certain perception that I'm doing great, I'm doing yoga, I look like this, I'm working out, my skin is glowing, my hair is beautiful.
Yeah.
And that makes people feel bad. It makes them not feel like they're going to be up to snuff to do it, that maybe they don't feel like that. And if they don't feel like that, should it bother? Should they do anything at all?
Right. It could be crippling to the person watching, being like, damn, how long is it going to take for me to get to that point?
Like, how do I get there?
Right.
And if you're showing something that's the other side of that there's a flip side of that there's this perception, everything's amazing, and I'm smiling and I'm dancing, and also I had a lot of anxiety this year, and it took a lot for me to get to the places where I am. It's for me, that's why I like your version of wellness. It's for me, it's why it relates to me, and why I wanted to talk to you, is because I feel like that's relatable.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that's why when I use the word holistic, it's whole. It's whole, mind, body. I want to share all aspects of my journey, because I didn't get to this point rainbows and butterflies. No,
of course.
What got me here is being able to alchemize the very real experience of my mom being diagnosed with cancer, and as a 23-year-old daughter experiencing that alongside her. And I feel like everybody now has somebody that has received a diagnosis, whether it's cancer or whatever it is. And as opposed to being a victim of that, alchemizing the experience of how can I empower my experience, empower myself, and share that.
So, look, I mean, sometimes when we talk about things, you say, well, the universe, we walked down the street today and we got coffee and you said something. I don't know the first thing you said because I don't know the
The
context.
jigsaw puzzle that I saw on the floor.
Okay. Was that an actual jigsaw puzzle piece?
Yeah.
Okay. There was also pants on the floor.
Yeah. And I had a message for both.
And you had a message for both because of the universe. Now, I don't take issue with anyone's belief system. We'll just state that right here on the record.
Same.
I am agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily believe the universe has anything for me, but I know you have different feelings about that. We all have different
believe the
feelings.
universe is abundant for you, Nickey Frankel.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes, it
but
is.
When we talk about the universe, for those cynics out there, similar to me, maybe curmudgeons, but we don't know. Some people don't know what that word means. How do you talk about the universe, and do you bring it into your wellness practice? And does it feel follow-up? And does it feel like you lose people to that? Does it feel like it gets people closer to you? Do you get more questions around any of those details?
So I most definitely incorporate the universe in working with people and in my messaging and how I interact. And I feel like if it turns anyone away, great, then you're not my people. I don't really want to work with you and you're not going to receive my message. And I find that that's like a blessing because it weeds out the people super quick and it brings the people that are for me and that have more messages for me to receive or that are going to benefit from my message. It opens up the path for them perfectly to make a beeline to me and for me to find them and vice versa.
Well, I'm someone that just stated quite openly that I don't know what that means. So maybe I'm not do you face challenges though where there are people that don't necessarily buy into that, but want health, believe in natural ingredients? Like I'm a naturalist, right? So I believe nature is a thing that's here to help us.
Yeah.
Right? So are you able to, when you're working with someone that doesn't necessarily agree with your ideology, be able to get them to where you need them to be?
Absolutely. I meet people where they're at.
Right.
I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I think that it's important to mirror people, and sometimes that's uncomfortable in both relationships, personal and professional. Because then you show people where they need to grow. And you show them like the work that they have to do. And then you also, with that, empower and bring light and strengthen the good qualities that they have within themselves.
Yeah.
So that's something that's an approach that I like to take in terms of mirroring people, because if you constantly are telling me like, I never find parking or I'm this or that, it's like you create your reality with the words that you speak.
Touch of karma?
Karma, yes, I believe in karma. I think that,
Like would you reap
one of my
what you
favorites,
sow?
one of my favorite sayings is karma works so I don't have to. Or like have
Or
the
karma
day that
is
you
my
deserve.
boyfriend?
I
Sorry.
don't know about that.
That's
Maybe.
a song.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I just believe strongly that like I try to encourage people that I'm working with, or in I hate to say like my messaging because that seems like inauthentic, but like, or my branding, but like in my conversations through social media, through my blogs, through my day-to-day interactions with people, I've most certainly tried to bring the conversation back to that person either empowers themselves through their speech or they don't empower themselves through their speech. Like you create your reality with the words that you speak.
Yes,
If you're
that's
constantly saying
That's
like,
true.
I'm, well, nothing ever works in my favor, or I'm this or I'm that. Well, guess what? That's energy is going to be
That's what
reflected back
you're
to you.
gonna you're gonna have.
That's all
right?
that you're right. Whereas
Yeah.
if I say everything works out for me, and by that I say that when something doesn't work out for me. If something doesn't work out, it wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
That's it. And that's
If I don't get that opportunity was not meant for me. A rejection is a redirection.
That's true. That's a good quote. And I do want to ask, so with work and purpose, I mean, your persona, your work and your persona is a lot about what
I
you
am
are.
the clean eating chick.
So, I mean, when you said, I guess,
Don't get it twisted.
it's hard to sort of, wellness is hard, right? Wellness is a hard industry
Yeah.
to sort of be in because you have yourself and then you have your persona. And when do you get to, I mean, is there a difference between those two, or is it all sort of the same, and do you embody all of it all the time?
I think that I struggled with this at one point when I first was starting, and with social media becoming almost like a 24/7 thing. I definitely struggled with that at first because it's like you have this persona, right? The clean eating chick. She's always happy. She's positive. She's a ray of sunshine. Yeah, for sure. I most definitely am, but I'm also human, and there are times where, you know what I mean? I want to somebody up if I need to, you know? Like I'm still from Queens. I'm still from Queens. No.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like part of my approach, my brand, my business, the clean eating chick, is like embracing both the light and the dark and loving all parts of yourself, whatever that is, you know? So I feel like, you know, I am who I am, and I'm her all the time. And with that, there are moments where I like don't feel like her. I don't feel like myself, but I have the tools, right? Whether that's a intense hot yoga class or that's a conversation with a confidant, even someone like yourself, you always, I feel like, mirror the strengths within me, and like you always are encouraging me to go through life full force.
Absolutely.
And you have your people, and you also make space for the days that you're not going to feel like yourself, and that's when you like really, I embrace those days, because then it's like the comeback is that much quicker. Or like, you know, like you might feel off for 48 hours, but then it's like you bounce back. As I feel like with each kind of downtime, the bounce back becomes quicker, because it's like, no, I've been through this before. I know that I'm good.
Like, you know, you can do it.
I know that I can do anything.
I hear you.
That's it.
And here's a question. So about other wellness people and the realities of how many people are in the industry. And I know I keep on harping on that, but it's just endless.
Yeah.
Right? And some of it does feel a bit, it does feel not always authentic, right? So do you feel like you have eye roll moments with people that are in your industry, or do you not really encounter them that much because you're not really...
From me, like that people eye roll towards me?
No, that you feel anything that's inauthentic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure. But I thankfully feel like I've weeded out those people. Those people like aren't really in my network. I don't subscribe to, like, they're not in my algorithm, both like in my real life and on my social.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like I thankfully have a lot of people that I'm inspired by that embody like, today I don't feel good. Today is like not the day, or I was really powering through something, or persevering through and battling the thoughts that was telling me like, no, like I can't do this, or, you know, I find that I have that in my circle more so than, you know, the inauthentic kind of voices. Like there's a lot of wellness leaders that I don't resonate with.
Right.
You know, like it's Gwyneth Paltrow putting like $150 mushroom mix in her smoothie and like marketing it towards people. That's like,
well, it makes health and wellness unattainable. It puts a
Yeah.
price tag on it. It makes you feel like you have to make a certain amount of money or be a certain way in order to ascribe to it.
When in reality, sometimes it could be as simple as like changing your thoughts, and then you'll see how the things follow into place and you automatically feel better. You have more energy to go do that workout, or, you know what I mean, take that business call and
So people that are interested in wellness, who like sort of are skeptical of it, should maybe pay attention to the signals they're getting about how they feel about the messaging coming through, right? Because if you feel less than as a result of that messaging, then maybe that person's not for you, and you should not subscribe to them, and you should not follow them, because it won't make you feel good.
There you go, and just
saying
keep
that
it
right
moving.
into the microphone. Saying that right into the microphone. I wanted to ask you, because we both work in event production, which I don't want to make anyone feel like they have to be listening to anything about event production, because it is boring and nobody cares. But sorry, as a producer, I think that's something that everybody should talk about. But I do want to say that it does help you in your business that you know this stuff, right?
Yeah.
That you know how to produce. I mean, so aside from Eleni being a badass juice warrior and general wellness savant,
Put that on
like,
a t-shirt.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, she's also an amazing producer.
Thank you.
And we've worked together for a long time. And I feel like it must help you as a business owner.
For sure.
To be able to know how production works.
Totally.
Even from all sides, right?
For sure. I mean, I know so many incredible people, creatives that have ideas and energy, but they lack the organization to follow through with it. Right. And I don't think that people realize how much logistics and organization and follow through and commitment goes into having your own business, especially when it comes to juices, the bottles that you're going to choose, the branding, the flavor collaborations, the rollout for that, like all of that I've learned, and even putting on a workshop, putting on a show, you know, like I Am Balanced, the wellness workshop that I have, you know, there's so much energy that goes into it, and things can be done well. I've attended so many events through wellness, right, that are just so poorly done that it makes people not want to engage or not or not want to invest, right?
Of course.
Whereas something that I've always felt, inspired by you is like people make things more difficult than they need to be for themselves.
All the time.
Especially when it comes to production and event production. And it doesn't need to be like that. And if you actually stay organized and you create a run of show. I mean, I remember the first time I did an event and I sent a run of show to the vendors that I had there, and like they were all, like little in the wellness space. They were shocked that I've never seen this. I mean,
because how would they know where they were going and when they were
right.
going
or
anywhere?
Have a pre-production call of like, hey, this is what's expected of you. Like, so I think I'm a totally different breed because I have a lot of like boss energy, but also this like gentle component of like, believing in the universe and reminding people of the power within themselves. Like, I think I bring a different energy to the wellness space for sure.
I think so too.
One of one.
I think so as well. Because being an entrepreneur is very tough.
Yeah, you're always on.
You're always on. You're always paying attention to it, and you're keeping it going. And particularly because I think a couple people who start businesses don't have capital.
Yeah.
Which is a big deal, right? Like when you started your business, just the realities of it was you doing all of it.
Yeah, for the most part, 95% of the time, it still is me.
And these aren't money-making schemes these days. I mean,
right.
when you talk to entrepreneurs, they're not doing it because they want to make $1 million.
Right.
They're doing it because they believe potentially in what the thing they're doing is, and they're willing to really slowly roll that boulder up the hill, even if it falls on them 1,000,000 times.
Yeah, and even if it's like a 20-hour day and you're like exhausted and you're wearing all the different hats of running the business, it's a lot. That's where that imposter syndrome comes in, or that's where those limiting thoughts come in. And it's like you have to power through all of that, and you have to do it with a smile on your face because you believe in what it is that you have to do.
And what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And make it happen for yourself because no one else is going to
No one else is going to do that for you.
No one else is going to do it for you.
I mean, you might have some support if you're lucky, but generally it's really you.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not something that's immediately, I mean, what you're doing is something that's really helping people. And that doesn't always have an immediate, buy-in or capital to it.
Right.
And, in addition to doing all this work all the time, right? You do other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I
do
dabble.
other stuff, right?
Yeah.
You do other things. So, like, what's a night off? What's a night off about?
A night off is like a bentonite clay face mask. And
I don't know what that is.
You know what a bentonite clay
I don't know.
clay? What? Oh, I have.
Okay.
We're overdue for a girl's
Do you know what
night.
I do? Do you know what I do? I crack an egg, I scramble it, I put it on my face.
Bless.
I'm just saying.
I've never done
that's
that.
Protein.
Yeah.
Protein for
No,
your
that's-
skin.
that's great.
If anyone likes my skin right now, and I'm also wearing makeup, that's what I do.
A scrambled egg. All right, good to know.
Yeah.
For me, it's bentonite clay.
Okay.
It's a face mask.
Yes.
It like sucks your skin. I call it like nature's Botox.
Okay.
Yeah. Bentonite clay, and then most likely an episode of The Real Housewives.
Which one?
Beverly Hills or Jersey.
Beverly Hills was kind of good.
Yeah,
Beverly
so
Hills
good.
is the one.
I mean, that's like OG, you know?
Okay.
Sometimes you just have to like take your brain out of your head and just watch something that like, you're like, how are these women complaining about? And it just kind of, it puts a lot of things into perspective and it
does.
makes you grateful for your life.
Yeah.
You
it's
know what I
less
mean?
complicated and all the rest.
Yeah, and that's helpful. That's how I like unwind.
Decompress. And you also, you do like, this isn't what you do, but you do like a Tough Mudder, or you're doing some like fitness competitions.
The World Series of Fitness.
What?
So, yeah, actually I officially am going to do my first solo in New York in the summer. I just bought my ticket today. So yeah, so I think that's where like I channel
that mean? Raising my hand.
High Rocks. So it's 8 different fitness events, and it's a 0.7 mile run in between each. It's very physically and emotionally intense. It's a combination of endurance and strength and running. And yeah, it's a hobby, but it's something where I feel like you have to challenge yourself at least annually.
Sure.
You have to set a goal for yourself. And this is that goal for me, like me versus me. Let me,
Let's see how far I can stretch myself to do the thing.
And like, channel this like, because we all have anger and aggression, and if we don't have the right outlets for that, and this is where
it goes right back inside.
Yeah,
right?
and that can like lead to sickness.
Yeah.
So that's where you gotta like do those things, move your body, sweat, challenge yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, and something like a High Rocks is that for me. So
okay,
and it also helps.
That's
me
so exciting.
stay in shape.
Yeah, you're so swole, right? Yeah.
Thanks, sis.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, as we wrap, right? We can either do a 2 truths and a lie, and I can start, or we can do a never have I ever. I mean, and I have a couple couple of these. So which one do you want to do? And
I
then
feel
we're
like you have these like pinned up for yourself.
No,
like,
I
you have
don't.
Them on
I
a
don't.
shelf
I
waiting,
don't.
like,
I
as
just
your
have some
party
good
trick.
ones in my head. I just have some good ones in my head. But like, I don't have party tricks, guys. I don't go to parties.
Yeah.
But like, but what are your? Do you have it? Do you want me to do this, or I can do mine.
Do yours.
All right, we'll do 2 truths and a lie.
Yeah.
And one of them, one of them we've already talked about. So I'm going to do one of them, but let me hold on one second. So, okay. All right. I was a burlesque dancer.
Okay.
I cannot climb a rope.
Okay.
I worked in a taxidermy studio.
Whoa. All right. I think that your 2 truths. I'm surprised that you can't climb a rope.
She knows that one.
I do know
I
that
cannot
one. So
climb
that's
a rope.
I'm cheating. I'm so surprised though because one of my favorite stories and like instances with you is in between a show that we were producing. I walked in and you were doing like a full set of push-ups. During the show.
I just want to say
at the time I couldn't do a single push-up. So like, bro, who is this chick?
Well, look, I just want to interject by saying that the way I handle stress still to this day is I just do a set of 20. I just go down, drop wherever I am, all over and do a set of 20.
That's your physical, that's your outlet.
That's my outlet. But I did do something like a Tough Mudder thing where I just could not, for the life of me, I could not get myself up the rope. It was very embarrassing. Oh. Okay, what's the other one that you think is not?
I think the other all right, so 2 truths. I know that you can't climb the rope, and then I think your second truth would be that you worked in a taxidermy.
That's a truth?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a truth.
Yeah, I know
that's a truth.
You would do some weird
I worked in a taxidermy too. I fixed bear.
Why?
I wasn't like, oh, please sign me up for the taxidermy studio. I was working for a designer who happened to work in a taxidermy studio, and she was like, oh, here's my side thing. And then we get to this big warehouse in Long Island City, and it's filled with taxidermy animals that we need to repair. A lot of them from the Natural History Museum. Wow. But it was all over.
What was your takeaway from that job? How have you applied that to your life moving forward?
I'm a vegetarian.
Okay.
I wasn't a vegetarian at the time when I started that job.
Okay.
Now, and it is very hard to keep animal fur on a sculpture. You need like glue that is like beyond toxic. Anyway, so next time everyone goes to Natural History Museum and they look behind the glass and they see all the cute, they're all just like 50-year-old animals that have been sitting in there for a really
some
long
of
time.
them were you.
Yes, I did work on some of those. I fixed like a barefoot. It's not like a big deal.
Oh, that's a big deal.
And then I never did burlesque dancing, but I thought about it and I had a whole routine that was like would have been really good.
All right.
Okay, do you
want
Next
chapter.
Do you want
I don't want it.
You don't want to? It's all about me?
Yeah, it's all about you.
All right, I didn't like that. I'm not trying to make it about me. So then then the takeaway would be that I have a couple questions about health-related things.
Sure.
That maybe you can give advice around. We know Eleni's not a doctor.
Yeah.
But I believe in the same things as you ascribe to. Mm-hmm. So I would be curious. So I have a couple things that we've gathered. So first off, we're all addicted to screens.
Yeah.
There's screens on my bed. There's screens all over the place. How do we...
It's hard.
I mean, and like, I don't know what we could eat or what we can intake or what we could do to not be looking at stuff all the time, but it is an addiction that nobody really recognizes.
For sure. I
Right?
mean, the amount of times we all go to reach for our phones, we're all like looking at screens all the time. The first thing I would say for sure is some solid blue blocking glasses.
Okay.
Those are great. Because the thing about the screens is that it blocks the melatonin production, so it keeps our eyes up, it keeps our brain alert.
hear
so
that.
we're having a hard time actually feeling sleepy, like naturally tired.
Like, that's why you binge the Netflix show
Right,
and like
because
just
you're
keep
just
on
like
going and
up,
keep on
you're
going.
wired,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And with the blue blocking, it helps to actually create, like your body is able to produce that melatonin and your eyes get tired.
Yeah.
So that was probably, I think, a few years ago I started the blue blocking, and that has definitely allowed for me to be like, okay, nighttime, let's, shut the screens off and put those blue blocking lights on, and it helps you be like, okay, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep, and get your 8
take
hours.
The glasses off, and then you
then you get your 8 hours. Yeah,
that's great. Okay, excessive farting. This is a problem that exists throughout my family. And, I actually trained myself to not actually loudly fart when I was in school so that, I wouldn't get embarrassed. I know, it's really good, actually. I can just do it like the wind's blowing through a tree. But what do you think?
I mean, I would say gut microbiome, exploring.
Is that
what it
probiotics?
is. I think it would be a combination of probiotics, but I also think the most important thing that you can do for your digestive system is ginger tea. Ginger tea daily.
Fresh ginger?
Fresh ginger tea, yeah, absolutely. You can like use the back of a spoon, peel the ginger, slice it up, put it in some boiling water, let it steep for like 10, 15 minutes, and enjoy a nice cup of ginger tea. If that's not sustainable for you in terms of timing, because we're all like super busy working, time is like our biggest thing that we're all stressed about. I have an incredible, this is not a plug, I use it daily, ginger powder by my acupuncturist. She creates this ginger powder that you just add to boiling water, you let that steep, and boom, you have like a super fresh, and it's infused with lemon peel and orange peel, so you get like an extra boost for your immune system, vitamin C. So I would say like ginger tea, and just exploring probiotics, prebiotics, and maybe a little acupuncture also too for the GI.
I love some acupuncture.
Me too.
All right, so acne and hair growth. Last one. Where you got some ideas?
Acne, I feel like would be again exploring a combination of what's going on in your stomach, because they say what comes out through your skin is not coming out through your bowels. So I would be mindful of that. And then also that's a hormonal thing. Acupuncture could be really good for that. There are certain herbs that can help to balance the hormones. And then hair growth, rosemary essential oil. Just add a drop of rosemary essential oil.
You just rub it in your head?
No, I actually put it in my shampoo.
Oh, all right.
So that way it like beats, I don't have to like walk around smelling like rosemary, but you just put a drop or two in your shampoo bottle.
That's really great.
And then
Stops
that's it.
from like hairs falling out and all the rest of it.
Also too, I will say that that's more like an external or like a cosmetic, but if you are experiencing hair loss, something could touch on really quick. When I was vegan for 10 years, and my hair, once I entered my 30s, my hair started to like fall out. And I noticed that was a lack of proper nutrients that I wasn't getting from that incredibly plant-based, strictly vegan diet. So I would say think about the nutrients that you're taking in or that you're not taking in, and how that could be contributing to a lack of hair growth.
That's really great. Do you feel good? I feel
great.
All right. Well, if you want more of Eleni, check out Cleansed and the Clean Eating Chick, and order some juices to cure all that ails you, because they're delicious.
Thank you.
They're amazing. And I want to thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're so happy you're here.
Happy to
love
be
you
here.
so much.
Love you more.
And hope you all aspire to do what you love and never work a day. This is Nickey signing off.